What if one of the biggest moments in NCIS history wasn't actually happening on screen? For years, fans believed Leroy Jethro Gibbs had finally closed the chapter on his story. After leaving Washington behind and choosing peace in Alaska, it seemed like Mark Harmon's legendary character had truly moved on. But now, a shocking revelation has changed everything. Because the truth is, Gibbs may have never been as far away as everyone thought. And even more surprising, the clues pointing toward his return were hidden in plain sight for 5 years. Most viewers completely missed them. A simple gift, a forgotten goodbye scene, an emotional moment that looked like the perfect ending. But looking back now, it appears that NCIS was secretly preparing for Gibbs' comeback long before anyone realized it. So was this all part of a larger plan? And if Gibbs is willing to step back into the shadows for Parker, what does that say about the danger that lies ahead? Because after everything that happened in Season 23, one thing is becoming clear. Leroy Jethro Gibbs' story may not be over after all. This revelation came during one of the strongest episodes of NCIS Season 23. While Alden Parker and his team were dealing with the aftermath surrounding Wayne Rogers, the situation quickly became much bigger than a normal case. Rogers wasn't just another enemy. He knew too much. He understood exactly where to attack Parker. Instead of targeting only the investigation, he threatened Parker's family, his team, and the people closest to him. Suddenly, this wasn't just about justice anymore. It became personal. And that's when Parker made a decision that surprised everyone. He reached out to Gibbs. That single decision tells us something important about Parker's mindset. Throughout the past several seasons, Parker has worked hard to establish himself as his own leader. Fans initially worried that he would simply become the new Gibbs, but Gary Cole's character developed a completely different style. Parker doesn't try to copy Gibbs, yet when everything fell apart, who was the one person he trusted most? Gibbs. That choice speaks volumes. Because despite their differences, Parker understands something that Gibbs taught his team for decades. Protect your people at all costs. And apparently, Gibbs still believes in that philosophy too. Although Mark Harmon never physically appeared, later confirmations revealed that Gibbs was responsible for eliminating Rogers during the transfer operation. But perhaps the most fascinating part of this story wasn't the kill itself. It was the weapon. To understand why, we have to go back 5 years. When Gibbs left NCIS and Great Wide Open, viewers focused on the emotional goodbye. After spending nearly 2 decades leading the major case response team, seeing him finally find peace felt like the perfect conclusion. But hidden inside that farewell episode was a detail that many fans overlooked. After helping solve the murder of his daughter, Tunu honored Gibbs through the Alaskan native potlatch tradition. As a symbol of gratitude, he presented Gibbs with a Springfield rifle. At the time, the gift simply seemed meaningful, a final token of respect. A beautiful ending, or so we thought. Now looking back, that moment suddenly carries an entirely different meaning. Because if Gibbs needed an untraceable weapon years later, that rifle would become the perfect solution. Think about how incredible that setup really is. NCIS planted the seed in 2021 and paid it off in 2026. Very few procedural shows think that far ahead. And perhaps that's why longtime fans remain loyal after 23 seasons. The series rewards viewers who pay attention. But here's the bigger question. Was this really the end of Gibbs' involvement? Or was this simply the beginning? Because while Rogers may be dead, the investigation surrounding his murder isn't over. Someone out there is still asking questions. Someone is searching for answers. And secrets rarely stay buried forever. Could Parker eventually become a suspect? Could evidence somehow lead investigators toward Alaska? And if that happens, would Gibbs finally be forced to reveal himself? Those questions are exactly why fans are suddenly excited again. Because for the first time in years, Gibbs feels important to the main storyline. Not as a memory, not as a passing reference, but as an active player. Even though he remains off-screen, his presence can still be felt throughout the series. That's the power of the character Mark Harmon created. Interestingly, producers seem determined not to rush his return. Showrunner Stephen D. Bender has repeatedly emphasized that if Harmon ever appears physically again, the story must truly deserve it. And honestly, that's probably the right approach. Bringing Gibbs back simply for nostalgia would feel cheap. But bringing him back because Parker's future depends on it? That's a completely different story. Meanwhile, another massive change is creating uncertainty inside NCIS headquarters. Leon Vance is gone. His death marked one of the most heartbreaking moments in the history of the franchise. For years, Rocky Carroll's character served as the backbone of the agency. Through multiple cast changes, personal tragedies, and countless investigations, Vance remained the steady leader everyone relied upon. Now, suddenly, that stability is gone. And replacing him won't be easy. Who could possibly fill those shoes? Surprisingly, the answer may lie in the past. Long before NCIS became a television phenomenon, there was JAG. Many newer viewers don't realize that NCIS actually began as a spin-off. The original backdoor pilot introduced Gibbs and his team through interactions with David James Elliott's Harmon Jr. Ironically, despite helping launch NCIS itself, Harm never officially appeared in the flagship series. Until now, that opportunity has never been fully explored. But with Vance gone, the timing suddenly feels perfect. Imagine how powerful that moment would be. A legend from the franchise's origins returning to guide its future. Not only would it honor the history of both shows, but it would also create a full-circle moment more than 2 decades in the making. And unlike introducing a completely new character, Harm already possesses credibility with longtime fans. Could he really become the next director? Or would the position eventually fall to someone else entirely? Whatever happens, Season 24 feels like a turning point, because change is happening everywhere. Characters are evolving, leadership is shifting, old allies are returning, and hidden mysteries are finally being answered. Speaking of mysteries, fans recently received an answer to one of the strangest questions in NCIS history. Why are the bullpen walls orange? For 23 years, that bright orange background has become one of the show's most recognizable trademarks. And according to original executive producer Mark Horowitz, the reason was surprisingly simple. There was no grand artistic meaning, no secret symbolism. The production team simply found a filming location during the original JAG backdoor pilot that already had orange walls. When NCIS received a full series order, they recreated the appearance for continuity. That's it. What started as a practical decision accidentally became one of television's most recognizable visuals. And somehow, that's fitting, because NCIS itself has always been about unexpected things becoming unforgettable. A spin-off became a phenomenon. A supporting character became a legend. A farewell gift became a crucial weapon. And a man who retired years ago may still be shaping the future of the series. Perhaps that's why fans continue returning after all these years. Because NCIS understands something many shows forget. The past matters. Every relationship matters. Every detail matters. And every choice eventually comes back around. As Season 24 approaches, one truth is becoming impossible to ignore. Leroy Jethro Gibbs may no longer sit inside the bullpen. He may no longer lead investigations. He may no longer appear every week. But his influence is still everywhere. Inside Parker. Inside McGee. Inside the agency itself. And maybe that's what makes his story so powerful. Because even when he's absent, Gibbs still changes everything. But the biggest mystery remains unanswered. If danger continues to grow, if Parker finds himself exposed, if the truth about Rogers eventually surfaces, will Leroy Jethro Gibbs finally come out of the shadows and return to NCIS one last time? And if that moment happens, do you think Gibbs should stay retired forever? Or does the story deserve one final Mark Harmon comeback?